Welcome back to G-Ball Vision, everyone. Thank you for stopping in. Today, I have a fun one planned for you. We are going back to the basics when it comes to pocket knives. Before we dive in, make sure you are subscribed to the channel. I release daily knife and EDC content, and hit that thumbs up button. That helps push this video out there to more people. And let us know what you are carrying in your pockets today down in the comments. Love seeing what you have for your EDC. So, we're going back to the basics, Knife 101, right? And this is going to be for the newcomers, or if somebody wants to just have some entertainment. We're going to go over very basic things when it comes to folding knives. Now, if you are brand new to the knife community, there is a lot to learn. So if you are one of those people, just sit back, enjoy the content, don't consume too much, and just take everything in, right? There's a lot to be learned, and you will always continue learning each day when it comes to the knife world. It's a fun place to be, and it's ever growing. So, and if you are new, let us know. If you're new to the channel, let me know. I would love to welcome you properly. So, this right here is the Civivi Elementum, one of the most basic folding knives that you can get. It is going to be actuated by a rear flipper tab there, and that is going to kick the blade out. This has a nice detent. A detent is what is going to give you that satisfying action. There's a little detent ball that the blade rides against, and there's a little pocket in the blade. Then that's how it's going to kind of snap closed there, and also it passes it on the open as well, and then it locks up. We have a liner lock for our locking mechanism. There's a ton of different locking mechanisms out there, and they all are very different from one another. This is going to be a very casual drop point blade. This has some sort of PVD process coating on it, and then we have micarta for the handle material here, and a deep carry clip that is surface mounted, meaning it is going to be mounted on top of the scales here, but we do have recessed screws, which is going to allow this to ride in some pants that have a little bit thicker seams, and this knife is very affordable as well. Now, the next knife we're going to take a look at is the QSP Penguin. Very similar to the Civivi Elementum, but in this case, we have a knife with thumb studs and a sheep's foot blade. So you can see the difference here between the flipper and drop point blade and the Civivi Elementum. This has a sheep's foot blade and thumb studs. Very similar with the pocket clip, although this one is recessed behind the scales, which is going to give you a cleaner clearance opposed to the way this is done here, but they both work. This one is probably going to be a little bit more effective because you don't have to worry about the little ledge of the pocket clip, and not that that's a huge deal, but that is going to work better in and out of the pocket, and it is going to be reversible, and we have a liner lock yet again. When someone refers to a knife as having good action, they mean that that detent is going to be nice and strong and give you a good, satisfying deployment. Whatever the means of deployment is, that doesn't matter. If it has good action, the means of deployment is secondary. We want a nice strong detent in there, and then nothing gritty going on with the bearings. We don't want loose bearings or anything like that, and we want nice tight tolerances. We always want our blades to be centered up, and as you can see here with the Kaiser Mini Militol, nicely centered up. This is going to be a milled titanium clip, which is going to be quite a bit different than the standard deep carry clip you'll see on a lot of affordable budget knives. This is going to look cleaner, and just it's going to be a little bit more premium than something like the QSP Penguin has here, and this will be our first frame lock. So we are actually using the frame of the knife here opposed to the liner. So fairly similar. Some say that the frame lock is a little bit more robust, and you do have a nice thicker piece of titanium typically, opposed to the liner. I think they're both fairly similar, and I don't have enough evidence to back either one. I found them both to be fairly durable and pretty resistant to failure, but there are cases with both that you can run into some issues. These days, it is a lot more rare to run into, lock failure on a large scale. Once in a while, here and there, from doesn't matter what company, a lot of companies are going to have, hits and misses all the time. It just happens. You're not going to be able to catch everything. And with the mini Militol here, we have our third deployment, flipper, studs, and now a hole or cutout. With the Real Steel Mugen here, we have our first crossbar lock. We have my Carta here and a full-length backspacer. And a backspacer, some people don't care about them. Some people hate them. Some people love them. I am of the opinion that I love them. That's not really an opinion. I do. And I think they are worth the extra little tiny bit of weight that they might add. It's not going to be much, but you're going to get more comfort out of the knife with a longer backspacer, because typically if there's no backspacer, you have an open spine here, and that can cause discomfort. Not always and not usually, but it does happen and can happen. A backspacer is going to help avoid that. Now, sometimes you'll see a very small one, which we don't have on any of these, but when I get to it, I'll show you. There's a huge difference between a little quarter backspacer and something like this. This is just going to add to the ergonomics, twice that if this wasn't here. Crossbar lock is our next lock up, and crossbar locks, in my experience, have been very resilient locks and can be very dependable. We're not going to dive much into steels. Just know that if it's coming on a knife that's been created in the last couple of years and it's of a price tag of, say, $30, $40 or more, there's a good chance you got at least a decent knife, right? Because there's a lot of good stuff out there nowadays. And typically in that price range, you're going to see a lot of D2, 10CR, maybe 14C. There's a lot of good steels in that price range. So that's another thing to keep in mind. Don't jump too high too fast. If you're just getting into collecting, enjoy the collecting, and that's where some people, I'm a content creator and a knife reviewer, a design reviewer, and some other added things in there as well. I like to, check the functionality of the knives and that sort of thing. But I'm also a avid knife enthusiast and knife collector. I'm not just sitting back and, how do I want to say it? I'm full-fledged into the knife world. I love knives. That's why I make content on them. So, I'm first and foremost a knife enthusiast, knife collector, and then I'm a content creator. So I'm just somebody who loves knives. I love all kinds of different knives, different locks, blade shapes, handle materials, different steels, different styles of pocket clips, you name it. I most likely enjoy it in some way, shape, or form. Now, we won't get to everything I'd like to in this video, at least I don't think we will, but here we have a new introduction into our locks. This is going to be a compression lock, which is Spyderco's bread and butter. They originated the compression lock that you see here, and it is often going to be found on 90% of Spyderco's models, and there are now knife companies that are doing button compression locks. A few companies have already come out with them. So the patent and whatnot ran out from, Spyderco being the only ones able to do it. There are other companies now doing it as well, but Spyderco is going to be one of those. Once you work your way up there from, this side of things, work your way up there, Spyderco is one of the most dependable folding knives that you can get your hands on. It's going to have an amazing heat treatment on the steel, which is exactly what matters. You want a steel that's going to have a good heat treatment and have a good geometry. And with Spyderco, we have a full flat here with XHP that has been heat treated with the utmost respect to the XHP itself, and it's going to be a great blade steel. This knife is USA made, and, for all that's considered there, a very affordable knife as well. Spyderco is a company that I can always point to and recommend to anyone. So I mentioned a button compression lock. This is going to be a standard button plunge lock. And like I said, there is a lot to take in, a lot to consume when it comes to the knife community and folding knives in general. Understanding that knives go from $20 up to, thousands of dollars. So, and everything in between. And there's more and more people coming into the community every day, and there's more and more designers, there's more companies, there's more EDC gear. It is an insane time to be into gear, knives, EDC gear, survivalist type gear. It's just a great time to be into all this stuff because we are at the peak of gear. the materials being used, the quality, companies just, battling against each other to put out the best product at the most affordable price. This is the closest thing I have to talk about it with, at least right now. This is a little keychain knife, and it's in titanium and Damascus. I wanted to bring up Damascus to kind of solve your questions about that. Damascus and Damasteel are two different things. Damascus could be anything. If you're going with a reputable company like Civivi, Concept, X2, and a multitude of other companies, you're going to be getting a pretty good base in like a VG10 or a 10CR, something to that effect. So it's going to be a decent steel. But remember that Damascus, not Damasteel, but Damascus steel can be a decent cutting steel, right? It can be a decent performing steel. Typically, though, what it replaces is steels like 14C and 154CM, which those are going to perform equal to, maybe a little bit better than something like a VG10 or 10CR. Very equivalent, right? But you're not typically going to buy a Damascus like this for performance. You're going to buy something like this for aesthetics. You want something a little bit flashier, but still going to be able to perform if need be, right? And that's what Damascus falls under for the most part with reputable companies. That's what that's going to fall in line. Now, I can't speak to, a $12 fixed blade Bowie knife made out of Damascus. That's probably going to be very cheap and junk, but there are companies out there doing a very solid Damascus. And next up, we have the Demko Shark Lock. If you're not familiar with Andrew Demko, he is, in my opinion, the godfather of locking folding knives. He has single-handedly created 3 different locking mechanisms for folding knives, and not just mechanisms to hold the blade open, but mechanisms that are actually going to lock your blade open, which is fantastic. This is his newest baby called the Shark Lock, and it is a very, very durable lock, but a very fun and fidgety lock. And you'll hear that a lot these days in the knife world, fidgeting and so on. And I admit I do it quite a bit. I'm constantly handling and holding knives, so I'm constantly flicking them open and closed. So I enjoy a good fidgety knife as well, but I know first and foremost, they're not a toy. They're a tool that I use as a toy. So that's just something to keep in mind. I know that it's a tool, but I sometimes use it like it's a toy. And so do many other people. And there's nothing wrong with enjoying just hanging around, flicking open your cool new knife or your knife that you've had for a long time and you just enjoy the hell out of it. There's nothing wrong with doing that. And don't let anyone tell you otherwise either. If you enjoy it, keep doing it. If it's not something that interests you, then don't worry about it. You just keep being you as well. We'll call this part 1, or we'll just call this, I don't even know. But this is Knife 101, back to the basics. We'll call it part 1. Let me know what you think, and let me know what we should cover in part 2. I love hearing from you guys down in the comments. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up button. I always appreciate that, everyone. If you're new here, I release daily knife and EDC content just like this. Make sure you are subscribed to the channel. Ring that bell. That'll notify you anytime I release new content, even when I go live, which is every Saturday and Monday night, 9 p.m. Eastern Time. Everyone is welcome to stop by. I'd love for you to be there. I will throw a couple of new videos up here, and here. Go check one of those out for me. Have yourself an awesome day. Thank you all again for watching. I will catch you in the next one.